The Tequila Worm by Viola Canales. Chapter 18. The Frozen Tamales. The school campus became a sea of Beamers and Mercedes and one or two Fords and Volvos the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Brooke's parents had insisted on dropping Marcos and me off at the Greyhound station in downtown Austin. This would be my first trip home, and I was so excited. Mama had written that Tia Petra wanted us to come over for a special surprise Thursday morning, and that the abuelitos were coming over for Thanksgiving dinner. As we drove into the city, I said, "Boy, it feels exciting just to be off campus and to see real people, stores, even traffic." We laughed. After buying our tickets for our 8-hour trip to McAllen, Marcos and I got a cup of coffee. I said, "Are the other Valley students going home too?" "No, they're spending Thanksgiving with friends. It's too long a haul for such a short break." Brooke asked me to come to her house, but I have to go home. Me too. You know, it's strangely fun to be drinking coffee from a paper cup. Yes, it's another world at St. Luke's, isn't it? We sat down. I wondered how home would seem, now that even a bus station seemed strange. I thought of Tiff. No, I was determined to feel that home was home, that my family was my family. Marco said, "Don't you sometimes feel like you're at a boot camp and that everything at St. Luke's, the endless classes, sports and such, is like one big drill to strip us and then shape us into some prep army?" I told him what Brooke had said about Tiff. I believe it. Tiff's in my dorm, and I see it with some of the senior guys. The bus to the Rio Grande Valley was announced. Marcos and I sat in the first row to look out at the front window. I said, "Is the big drill getting to you, too?" Sometimes. Part of me wants to just go, from St. Luke's to college to medical school too. But when I talk to Mama, I feel that I need and want to stay close. I know what you mean. I think it's different for us. I feel I'm here for my family, too, not just for myself. I love so much about my family, my barrio. St. Luke's makes me appreciate them more. Yeah, it's confusing. At least the fall term exams are over. Wow, was that intense? Despite the grind, I thought I was doing well in all my classes. Hockey, too. And I enjoyed hanging out with Brooke and Marcos and my other friends. But it felt good just to be sitting in a bus, looking out the window. Marcos dozed off. By the time we stopped at the 10th tiny town, I was dozing off too. In one town, we grabbed a sandwich. As we ate, Marcos said, "Hey, is Terry still being a creep?" The hate mail stopped her cold, and she's still getting some. Marcos laughed. "Well, that was such a dumb thing to do. But it was funny, too, Sophia. I will never in my entire life forget the expression on your face when you saw your plastic version all lit up at the front of the chapel." We both laughed. "Oh, but that's not the half of it." "What do you mean?" "Well, Terry also grabbed my crucifix and said, 'Aren't Mexicans obsessed with death?'" Marcos shook his head. "I think part of it is that death is not even in the St. Luke's vocabulary. I mean, there's this guy in my dorm, Skip. Well, Dan, his roommate, told me their advisor mentioned that Skip's father was terminally ill, just in case he needed help. Dan said, 'Skip, I'm so sorry about your father. Let me know if—'" Skip said, "My dad's fine. I don't know what you're talking about." 2 days later, he left for his father's funeral. But here's the weirdest part. Not one single person in the dorm has mentioned a word about the death, even if they all know about it. Skip now goes around like some ghost. He's even on probation, like he can't function. We were silent after that, until we spotted the McAllen city limit sign. Marcos and I cheered and high-fived. And when we finally pulled into the bus station, my heart exploded with joy as I saw Papa, Mama, Lucy, and Berta waving frantically. "Sophia, Sophia," said Lucy, kissing me. I kissed them all. I greeted Marco's family. Marcos and I joked about how we couldn't wait for our bus trip back. Papa was wearing his brown and white boots. He looked especially happy to see me, but I noticed a slight weariness in him. "Papa, are you feeling all right?" I asked, putting my arm around him. Yes, mija. It's so wonderful to have you home. Mama, Papa, can the three comadres drive around in Berta's car once we get home? Said Lucy. We have a lot to catch up on. I told you, Sophia, said Berta. Lucy is becoming a comadre at the speed of light. She's not on Mexican time like you. I kicked Berta's shin gently. I dropped my stuff in our room and then discovered a dozen frozen tamales in the freezer. Wow, what a treat, especially after months of dining hall food. Mama, I said, can we have the tamales for dinner? Don't even think of it, Sophia, she said. Those are for me to eat on the Day of the Dead. And don't think you can just go over to Davila's and buy me a dozen there. She then went on and on about the tamales at Davila's and how no way she was even going to touch them and how they should be shot for even calling them tamales since they only put a speck or two of pork inside. We're having cheese enchiladas. If you want tamales, go to Davila's and buy some. I started to laugh, for I couldn't believe anyone could feel so passionately about a dozen frozen tamales. Are you eating them when you go to leave flowers at the cemetery? I asked. No, I'm eating them in the cemetery, but when I'm dead. What? Mama said, you know I make 12 dozen tamales every year for Christmas, since you eat most of them yourself, and I make 1 extra dozen in case I die during the coming year. This way I can at least look forward to eating my own tamales on the Day of the Dead. I remembered the hot chocolate and pozole Doña Virginia had made for her dead child and parents years ago, and Mama saying that they were coming to visit her on the Day of the Dead. I'm sorry, Mama, I said, kissing her. I won't touch them. And I put the tamales back in the freezer. Berta, Lucy, and I got into the front seat of Berta's bottle green car. It was as though I'd never left, except this time we were driving around to keep warm. Berta, pull over so I can drive. Berta and I switched sides. I turned on the ignition and shifted to D. It felt so good to be driving. Lucy, I said, how's your quinceañera coming along? I'm still working on my boyfriend, Noe, but I now have 10 comadres, including you and Berta. Wow, and I also hear you're making arts and crafts like Mama. Yes, but it's a secret. Secret? You've taken over our entire room. Lucy, where am I supposed to sleep? My bed is covered with papers, magazines, and pieces of material. That's for my quinceañera. And don't forget, Sophia, you're still my maid of honor. Anything you say, Lucy. So, Berta, when are you and Jaime getting married? I'll be happy to be your maid of honor for that, too. After graduation. I was kidding. Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. But what about college? Maybe, but right now, I'm thinking of getting married and settling down. Settling down? Like having children? Perhaps. Listen, Sophia, you're the one breaking the mold. Almost all the women in our family got married and settled down before finishing high school. Silence. So, Sophia, are you still intent on going to college? Yes. University of Texas in Austin? Maybe I'll apply to Harvard. But that's many, many, many states away. You're too far already. So you both miss me? Of course we do, said Berta. So you've been homesick for me like I've been homesick for you? Well, surprise! I have the perfect cure, said Berta. She popped the glove compartment open. Ta-da! And pulled out a tiny bottle of mezcal with a tequila worm inside. Wow, I said. Where did you get it? That's a secret. We drove back to the house. Hey, Berta, are there any glasses in your car cantina, too? Of course. Berta popped the glove compartment and took out 2 shot glasses. We got out and sat on the porch. I opened the bottle and poured. Here, Lucy, you watch the tequila worm while your 2 comadres drink. I sniffed the mezcal. Wow, strong. Berta was looking at me. Well, you first, Sophia. Show me how it's done. I took a deep breath and kicked it down. Oh my God. Wicked. It burns. How can people drink this stuff? And why? Piece of cake, Berta. Now you. I felt mezcal fumes smoking my stomach. Lucy's eyes were as big as conchas. Berta bit her lip, sniffed the mezcal, squinted, then threw it down. Yuck! I'm burning all the way down. Sophia, the things you make me do. Berta, it was your idea, remember? But now the best part. There's a tasty bit for Lucy, too. I popped the tequila worm out of the bottle. It's only a question of who gets the head, tail, and middle. Yummy. Lucy, you have first pick since you didn't get to drink. Silence. Lucy? Sophia, don't be mean, Berta said. You go first. Eat the butt and make sure to chew it slowly. I bit the tail off and started to chew. Squishy. I swallowed. Delicious. Lucy and Berta looked a bit green. Now, Berta, don't be mean either. You go next and bite off the head, ears, and snout. It's a worm, Sophia, not a pig, said Berta. She closed her eyes, bit, and swallowed. Gross. Berta, no fair. You didn't chew. It only works if you chew it. Shut up. I can't believe I just ate. Yuck. I started laughing. And Lucy, said Berta, you don't have to eat the rest. Forget what Sophia says. She's still making us do crazy things. Lucy, that's right. You don't have to. But can I still be a comadre? Of course. I'll do it too, but I won't chew, okay? We'll do it when you're older. I want to do it now. Lucy took the rest of the tequila worm, shut her eyes tight, and swallowed. Yuck, yuck, yuck. We all laughed. Berta reached into her purse and pulled out a Hershey's chocolate bar. Always prepared. Lucy took the first bite. As I walked through the living room, I noticed a skull with my name on it on the home altar next to the pictures of dead relatives. Berta stayed for dinner. Mama's cheese enchiladas were as mouth-watering as I'd remembered. Way better than the tequila worm. During sobremesa, my mom mentioned that she had made pan de muerto for the Day of the Dead. I looked around and counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 crucifixes on the wall. I wanted to get Terry's voice out of my head. Don't you think Mexicans are obsessed with death? Sophia, Mama said, did you hear me? I blinked and nodded. We all have to be up bright and early tomorrow. Tia Petra has a special surprise for you, she added. The next morning, we were at Tia Petra's by 8. Papa wheeled her into the sala on a plastic-covered wheelchair. I gave her a big kiss. Poor Tia Petra had suffered a slight stroke since I'd last seen her. We all sat down and pasted ourselves to her furniture. It's time, Tia Petra said. Before it's too late, I want to give each of you one of my prized possessions. Sophia, I want you to have the armchair. Berta, the sofa. See how I've kept it for you? She took a pair of scissors and started removing the plastic from the red velvet armchair. As she cut, we saw something start moving on the chair. Thousands of termites swarming everywhere. Tia Petra shrieked and started to cry. I've been a pendeja. Call the funeral home. I don't want plastic on my coffin. Just throw me in a hole. Throw the dirt on my face. Let the termites eat me too. We all rushed to hug her. That evening, Lucy was in the kitchen helping Mama with the turkey mole while I visited with the abuelitos in the living room. Then the front door opened and Papa wheeled Tia Petra in, her wheelchair no longer in plastic. I kissed her. The front door flew open again. It was Berta. We're all done with dinner at my house. I'm so embarrassed about this morning, said Tia Petra. And here I was supposed to be tutoring you and Berta, teaching you the mysterious secrets of life. But, well, there is a lesson in what you saw today. More for me than for you. I'm afraid. Yes, not even plastic can prevent. I should have enjoyed my furniture. I should have let Sophia put buñuelo crumbs all over my bare sofa. Let her spill red hibiscus water all over my table and floor. Boy, I hope this lesson isn't that I'm a messy mule too, I thought. She continued, yes, by death we know life, and so it's best to embrace it. How's that for Martian talk? Berta and I kissed her. Now we eat. Our Thanksgiving dinner of turkey mole, rice, beans, hot corn tortillas, and tres leches cake was to die for. At sobremesa, we were drinking café de olla, Papa's sweet spiced coffee treat. Abuelita went first. Sofia, as the comadre in charge of the family's Christmas nacimiento, I have the honor of appointing you the Christmas madrina this year. Everyone started clapping. Thank you, Abuelita, but what do I have to do? You'll put baby Jesus in the manger on Christmas and then make him a new dress to wear on the 6th of January. I looked over at Berta and Lucy. Thank you, Abuelita, but can Berta and Lucy help me make the dress? Yes, of course, for this is good training for comadres. I went next at sobremesa. Tia Petra, as I wrote in my letters, Berta and I are getting good at connecting from far away. When are you going to teach us how to connect with the dead? Berta's eyes widened. Tia Petra said, just wait until you experience being the Christmas madrina. This is about learning to kick with your soul, mija. Something that the mind, however educated, and even the heart can't do or even begin to understand.